Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I want to talk about one of the arguments for the existence of God, and it is a newer, it's not a newer argument, but it's definitely not like a class, it's not like, it's more of like a contemporary classical argument. And I know I usually don't talk about apologetics in this YouTube channel, but I wanted to cover this because I thought it was really interesting. So it was first articulated by Edward Feser, the apologist, the contemporary classical apologist. And in his book, 5 Proofs for the Existence of God, he talks about rationalistic proofs, Neoplatonic proofs, Aquinas' proofs, and I think it was also the, I think that was it. Yeah, pretty sure that was all. Oh, and the Aristotelian proofs. So yeah, I wanted to talk about in this video about the Neoplatonic proof for the existence of God, or at least what he calls the Neoplatonic proof for the existence of God. And so it basically goes something like this. So everything that starts to exist is composite, or it's made up of something, of smaller, different fundamental parts. And these parts are what make it up. And this composite object has a cause. And this is different from the cosmological argument because not only does this composite object have a cause, but this composite object but the cause of this composite object is also responsible for this object to remain composite. So what this means is that it's basically like the principle of order and chaos. So the cause of this composite object must be orderly, and because this cause must be orderly so that it can prevent the composite object from devolving into chaos and from decaying into chaos. So, for example, the phone that I'm using right now to film is a composite object. It's made up of the circuit boards, of the other parts. I don't really know a lot about phone mechanics, but just it's made up of other parts. And so these parts have a cause, or at least the phone has a cause. The phone itself has a cause. This cause is also responsible for the phone to remain on that composite state. So if we trace it back, then eventually we will reach this perfectly orderly, non-composite being. And this being must, this being must be non-composite to create every other thing that is composite, and to keep all those other things that are composite to keep them composite. So this being must be infinite, because it can't be non-composite and not infinite, because it has to be infinite. Because if it's infinite, then it's undividable, or not undividable, but if it's infinite, then it's not made up of different parts. It's impossible for this infinite being to be made up of different parts, therefore non-composite. So we've established this being of perfect order and infinite, and this infinite being. This being is God. And so this is basically the Neoplatonic argument for the existence of God. So now I just want to just analyze what I talked about. So when it talks about order and chaos, this principle of order and chaos, we come to this conclusion that there was this, at some point, this perfect point where God meticulously interacted with our physical universe, with our physical world, and from that came order. And so basically, philosophically speaking, that means that our existence, our reality, or the fabric of our universe is made up of a shadow, or of this residue of this perfect divine and infinite being. So, and we know this point, this singularity, to be the creation of the universe. So, and so this is when God meticulously interacted with our universe. That's why there's such an imprint there. And from God's perfection and from God's divinity, we are held together. But we naturally, since the sin of Adam and Eve, we naturally devolved into chaos. So ever since then, everything would be chaotic. But this perfect being at the beginning of it all is what's keeping it all together. The residue of his divinity is what's keeping all these composite objects together. And from the things that we know to be composite, and so say that this perfect singular being did not exist. If this perfect singular being did not exist, then if it did not exist, then nothing would be tied down to anything. There wouldn't, even if by some 1 in a trillion billion chance that a composite object was formed, seemingly out of nowhere, seemingly by itself, even if this happened, it would just immediately devolve into chaos and immediately devolve, because there's nothing tying down anything else, because there's no perfection. Therefore there's only chaos. So they can't be intricate designs. And so I always see this argument as kind of a cosmological argument combined with a teleological argument. So I really liked it. And some refutations are, for at least the Christian view of this argument, is that, well, God is a trinity, so he is a composite object because he's made up of these different parts. But what they don't realize is that this kind of, we are in a lower dimension than him. So to us, it seems like I like this analogy of that, if we, to a two-dimensional creature, if we put a ring and we put it right, like, say we have this paper and we put a ring, and let's say to the two-dimensional person, it would seem like there's 2 dots, but in reality it's one continuous ring. So to us, it doesn't refute the general claim that God is not a composite object. And basically, if you want to refute this argument, you have to attack the claim that God is a non-composite object. Because if you say that he's a composite object, even if you say that he's a composite object, let's say they say, well, God isn't a non-composite object. God is a composite object. He's made of stuff. Well, then we come to the problem where, well, then what non-composite object created that? And so this could just result in infinite regress. And this is a problem in logic, because then we wouldn't be able to exist, because this infinite regress would constantly be going on. Therefore, we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist yet. At a certain point, we would exist, but that point is infinitely far from the beginning. Therefore, there is no beginning. So then it's going to take forever for us to exist. Therefore, we would never experience our existence. It's kind of like trippy, but I hope I articulated that well. And so there has to be, at one point, there has to be this infinite. And since God is outside of this universe, this infinite regress is just defined as itself the being. The infinite regress isn't a thing that's inside of our universe, it's outside of our universe, and the whole infinite regress is defined as infinite. And that is the being of God. And I think that's all I wanted to say for this video. And I hope I articulated this argument well. I've semi-recently discovered it, and I really liked it, and I wanted to make a video about it to reach people. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.